welcome to another episode of Socialers. Thank you for listening, all three of you, probably at this point, maybe more, but that'll change. Joanna, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing really good. As of this, I don't know when this will get published, but we landed a really big client, so that's always good.
Only
so
our
I'm
biggest.
Very excited.
No big deal.
Yeah. And it was an RFP. So those of you that are listening, you know that you're probably like cringing when you hear the acronym RFP. I know I always have, because they are a lot of work.
First of all, it's request for proposal, correct?
Oh,
you know, it's an uncomfortable thing when especially marketing, I feel like people throw around acronyms. And I remember when I first started, I was afraid to ask. If someone's using an acronym, it's like, you should know what this means.
I should have known better.
And someone, when we first got the RFP, someone was like, hey, what's an RFP? And I was like, damn, I always forget that.
It's true. But I'm old. I'm older than dirt. So I forget sometimes that just because I know a thing, that not everybody necessarily just knows that. So yes, thank you for spelling that out.
And never be afraid to ask, because at some point in their lives, that person who you're asking didn't know what it meant either. So just ask.
Yes, that's great advice too. Don't fake it. Ask. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking. Like, here's a perfect example or an analogy, which I think is funny, is if somebody calls you by the wrong name, if you don't correct them right away, that's your name with them. You're stuck.
Yeah.
You have to tell them. I've seen that happen when I was at Microsoft, and there's like hundreds and thousands of people, and you have all these ridiculous meetings, so names are forgotten. There are people that would not correct somebody. Like, usually it would be somebody that was super like high up, like a director or something. They get a name wrong, and they wouldn't correct them, and then they would just go by that name with them. It happens.
I once had a boss who was on a date with someone, and they had food on their mouth, and he was afraid to tell them. And then they went to the bathroom, saw it, and came back and were like, why didn't you tell me that I had something on my mouth? So, but then he went way too far the other end of the spectrum. And anytime we'd be eating lunch together, I would be like taking a bite of food, and he'd be like, you have something on your mouth. I'm like, yeah, I'm eating it. Anyways.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. So yeah, we landed on a big client. Very exciting. What an RFP. So I guess I have to change my attitude about those at least a little bit, but we put so much work into it. We have to use that again.
And that's,
for another one.
You know what we learned from that? We had probably 3 or 4 people in our agency of 9 who worked on it full time for probably a week. So if you have account managers who are at capacity with their current clients, it's probably not a good thing, because they don't have time to help you win other work, and they're probably stretched too thin. Guaranteed.
Yeah. And here's some free advice from the old guy. And this rang true with this. So we're a boutique sized agency. So, you know, we are smaller. And we beat out some bigger players that have pretty big Fortune 50 clients. And this particular client specifically said, you won this because of your passion and your desire and your authenticity and your rawness and vulnerability and all of these things that you don't typically think about. Like, yeah, we had to check the boxes on, you know, doing a lot of work and showing our competency, but we won it because of that. So if you're listening and you're a contractor or you're just starting your agency, I'm telling you right now, the most powerful thing that you can ever do when it comes to winning new business is being passionate about the opportunity. And you can't fake it. Like, just go after the work that you're passionate about, and good things will come.
Yeah, find your unique proposition, because if you can do the work and do it well, so can 100 other agencies. So what makes you different? What can you bring differently to the table?
That was an exciting thing. What else? You have any other interesting stories over the past week?
No.
I do.
Instead of pausing for 10 seconds to think, I'm just going to say no out the gate.
We can edit that out, though. I keep telling you we can edit that out. Nobody will ever know if you're just quiet for 15 seconds.
Okay, what's your story?
I thought it was interesting. So it's kind of social media-ish, but it just, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on this, but it's just another example of the big behemoths not caring about small business. So I had my wife's had a friend at work who her husband owns a business, and they shut down his Google My Business page, and he was that's screwed. He's like he owns a gutter company. Screwed, right? No more leads. That's where he got all his business, had lots of reviews. They shut him down. He kind of talked it through with me a little bit, saying, he was using his home address for the business and the phone number didn't line up or something. It was just, BS stuff. But now he's stuck in Google purgatory, right? He can't talk to anybody. He can't get it fixed quickly. He's stuck in this basically, he's in Google jail and he's not going to get let out quickly, and he's got the small business, and that affects him. It affects his ability to run his business. And it sucks, and it's not fair. And he's like, "What can I do?" And I kind of gave him some advice on how to navigate that. But it's just another example, because Google and Facebook and all these they don't optimize for small business. They don't care. Like you have no means to. And I feel bad for this business owner because there's nothing I can really do for him. I mean, if it were Facebook, maybe I could point him in the right direction with a contact we have, but small businesses are screwed. They have no way of navigating that. You have to be really careful about these things. The only way is to kind of try to prohibit, or try to get out in front of it. Like in his particular case, he didn't have a website, which seems crazy, right? He's working on it. It's going to be, and I'm like, you got to get your website live. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. Same thing with like social media. You can't put everything in one basket. You can't rely on just Facebook, because if they shut you down or something happens, then you're screwed. So it's just like, what can I do? I'm like, well, go on Yelp and, get yourself set up on Yelp and diversify what you're doing. So it's interesting. I enjoy having the time to be able to help small business owners, but man, it's a tough going if something goes wrong for them, because they don't have a path. And I don't know that there's an answer for that when it comes to Facebook. I mean, I get that, hundreds of thousands of small businesses contacting them. It probably doesn't scale, but man, I feel like they could do a better job.
Squeaky wheel gets the oil, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're spending millions of dollars with them, then they'll listen to you.
Yeah.
So that was my
weekly rant
thing for the day.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my event for the day.
Cool.
All right. Well, so what are we talking about this week?
Yeah. Okay. We're talking about culture of an agency, do's and don'ts. I think we could talk for hours on this. But I'm on limited time because I can't stretch a laptop charger into my closet yet. I need to.
I don't think anybody wants to listen to 3 or 4 hours of it, but
okay. Well,
let's see if we can do 30 minutes and change.
Okay, so I'm probably gonna surprise you with a couple of these, and you're just gonna roll with it and give us an example of how we've done that.
Okay.
Unless I beat you to it.
All right.
Number 1 is a do. Do have a clear and concise mission statement that everyone in the company can rally behind. This is a good one for you because you would have written that before I even came on board.
Yeah. I mean, I think anytime you're starting a business or an agency, I mean, it's got to come from, authentically come from.
What's our mission statement? Well, what are our values?
So ours are freedom and
trust.
Trust, and I'm having a brain fart on the one, God, starts with an I. I can't think of it.
Innovation.
There you go. Trust, freedom, innovation, and I should have had these memorized. And wait, innovation, kindness, generosity, freedom, and I think that's all of them.
Trust.
That's 5, right?
I think
freedom. Yeah. Freedom, innovation, kindness, generosity, trust. Yeah. Those are our 5.
So go ahead. This is something that we talk about with prospects a lot, is our values, because while I don't think they're different than what other people's values are, I think we put our money where our mouth is and we actually do them. Freedom being the big one. We've been a remote agency since the beginning. And Jason's goal is to make sure that we all have freedom to do that, freedom to work where we want, when we want, and how we want.
Yeah. And I think you come up with like a handful of them, but there's always one, I think, for every business or business owner that stands out more than anything. It's certainly freedom was that for me. I mean, that was, it's always like, what's the why? Why do you do what you do? Why did I start a business. And for me, it was 100% freedom because I got so tired of my life being dictated by outside forces. I wanted to control my own life. I wanted that so badly. And I wanted to not only have it for myself, but to build something and give that to others. So to me, I live and breathe that every day. Um,
And that includes
I think,
financial freedom too. I think
yeah,
you said
everything.
before, we're not trying to get the most for our money. I think we want to treat people fairly, pay them what they're worth,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Well, freedom. That's why I love freedom. That's defined differently by everybody.
Hmm.
Some people are driven by making as much money as they want, and some people, time is the most important
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, we've got
Some
single
people,
parents who work with us
yep,
who value time with their kids. And I want to drop
yeah,
my kid off at daycare. I want to pick him up from daycare. Okay.
yeah,
It doesn't bother me. Do whatever
yeah.
you need
And
to.
it's super important. You want to surround yourself with people that can get on board with those values.
Yeah.
Not only, if you got nobody's going to say, they don't believe, I don't want to have freedom. I don't believe in trusting. Like nobody's ever going to say that, but it's really more about what examples do they have in their life that align
Yep.
to those sorts of things
Yep.
that you can kind of glean from conversations with them. So,
Awesome. Number 2
yeah.
is a don't. Don't surprise employees around review periods. Can I do this
Oh,
one?
yeah.
I changed this
Sure.
originally, but I've been thinking the last couple of days. So, as I've grown in the agency, Jason has been the one who has taught me how to manage people. It's still the one that I think I have the most room to grow. But something he's always said from the beginning, and I didn't really, I couldn't see the fruits of my labor until recently. He always said, you don't want anyone to be surprised by any decision that you make or anything that any feedback you're giving them, right? I shouldn't have an annual review with someone and say, well, you sucked at this, 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 and this. And they look at me like, well, why didn't you tell me? I would have fixed that earlier. So I have monthly one-on-ones with everyone I manage. And then we have annual performance reviews where we're talking promotion, compensation, bigger picture things. And I just had, I think, my first annual performance review because we do it based on when the employee came into the business and then a year from then. So I had it with someone and it was so nice to be able to say at the beginning of the call, you know, all this stuff that I'm about to say. We've talked about it 3 times in our last one-on-ones. This is just a formality. This is just going to be me reiterating it. This is how we can help you improve in the areas that you need help in, and congratulating you for all the areas that you were great in. But you've heard it all before, and this is just what we're basing our decision for, your promotion or compensation around. So it was the first time that I really understood how great it could be to have a review where no one's surprised. Everyone's on the same page all the time. No one is wondering what I'm thinking because I'm telling them immediately. I'm not holding in feedback until their monthly one-on-one or their annual performance review. They're getting that feedback immediately. And it gives them the opportunity to fix something immediately, and not have to linger in this bad feeling of poor performance or anything like that. Not that we have a ton of that going on. But yeah, that was great.
Yes. It's like, to me, that's manager 101. And I was fortunate enough to get a lot of that knowledge and experience at Microsoft back in the day. You just have to, a lot of people, and I've said this to you and to others, I think on the team, people sometimes just want to be a manager because it's the quicker path to advancement. And they're not really passionate, or they're really not invested in nurturing and helping and guiding other people, which is the majority of people are that way. Unfortunately, it's pretty rare to have really great managers, but certainly part of that is you've got to have those conversations, throughout the year. You can't be surprising people in the review. For them, for yourself, it's interesting, right? Because like if you do that, those review conversations are pretty quick.
Yeah.
They
because it's
easy,
just a
they're
formality.
quick.
I just need to type
Right.
these notes out, have it on your file, and
yeah.
good to
And
go.
you're doing yourself a favor as a manager. One, it makes that more efficient. Two, whatever it is that you're going to give them is probably not going to be a shock, assuming you're treating people fairly and the business is doing well enough to warrant that. It's just easier. So, but it's harder in the sense that you have to make that commitment throughout the entire year to provide your team and the people that you manage that insight throughout the year. So I
Awesome.
feel like we do a pretty good job at that.
I agree. Okay, number
Well,
3 is a do. Encourage transparency and openness within the agency. I think this one has a delicate balance, right? Because you
yeah,
don't want to be too transparent, especially as a CEO or, in my position where I'm privy to information about, the financial health of the business or what's going on, what could happen if things continue in a certain direction, either way, positive or negative. You don't want to make any empty promises. And you also don't want to
yeah,
scare people unnecessarily. It is not their job or their responsibility to carry that weight. I would say that that's our job to do that. And so I think this one is a delicate balance that you got a dog over there?
that's Franklin. That's my
Hi,
dog.
Franklin. I'm
Hey,
surprised it's not
sorry,
mine.
real life. We're raw on the
I don't
podcast.
think
So
I've ever heard him bork.
yeah, me neither. I'm closing the door now. You keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it's a balance that we're still figuring out. And we learn through trial and error a little bit, but I think you are definitely transparent and open. And I think it's appreciated because it goes with the don't surprise employees. No one's ever surprised. People know where the business stands, good or bad, again. And they should be allowed to have a sense of where we stand, what's going on, if there's any big changes coming. I've definitely worked at agencies where, you see the head honchos in the conference room and you just wonder what's coming. Are there layoffs coming? Is there something big coming? And I just really appreciate the transparency, and I think our employees do too.
Yeah, you're right about it being a delicate balance. Sometimes I wonder if I I fall too far on the over transparency side of things, um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it just goes back to being authentic. And if I think, if you're starting an agency or business, I mean, when people feel like they're part of what's being built instead of just being a worker bee, you're setting yourself up for
You're going to
success.
get the best
They're
work
gonna,
out of them.
they're going to care more, right? They feel like, they have some sort of
Steak.
ownership of, yeah, so they have a stake in what you're trying to build. So I think part of that comes in being transparent with them about what's happening and what's working and what isn't. And yeah, it works. Trust me.
Yep. Awesome. Next one is a
What's that?
don't, and this is very fitting for this week. Don't forget to have fun and celebrate successes. So,
Yeah. True.
this is something that I think when the business is not necessarily doing bad, but we're in more of a lull than a high, getting clients left, right, and center, it's hard for both of us to have fun because you're focused.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're stressed. But especially in a remote agency and vibe, the culture is so important. It's so important to keep up the positivity, and whether we want it or not, it always stems from the top down, right? Everyone else is going to mirror our vibe just because
Yeah.
what do they know,
Yeah. I always, I mean, I know with you and I'm in a unique situation because I always say that, like, the shit has to roll up,
Mhm.
right? You're not supposed to be vulnerable and talk about the bad things with the people that report to you. Um, I think we have a unique relationship where we're more on an equal level in the sense that I'm very open and honest with you about when things are not good or shitty or whatever.
I can
And
bitch to you, you can bitch to me, bitch
right.
to each other.
But yeah. Well, when you're talking about your team, I mean, you definitely want to, you got to bring high energy. You got to be positive. That doesn't mean that you have to, bury your head in the sand and not let people know what's really going on. But I think that's important that you've got to. It's tough when you're virtual. I mean, it's tough to to keep energy levels high and keep people motivated to stay connected. And um, but as a leader, you kind of have to do those things to keep the machine rolling. So
Awesome. Next one.
yeah.
Do
Next.
build a team of diverse individuals with different skill sets. So I think one of my favorite questions, I have a questionnaire that goes out automatically through our payroll system before our monthly one-on-ones. They're the same questions because I kind of want to keep track over time of what the answers are. One of them is there anything of your role that you don't like? And is there any part of another role that you'd like to move into or get more experience in? And I really like this because if you pigeonhole people, if you hire someone as an account manager and never speak to them about what they actually like about the role or don't like, or you never let them venture outside of that, you're missing out on a lot of potential gold mines. We have an account manager started with us, hired as an account manager, who we found out after a couple months was doing all of her own graphic design, and it was some of the best. Her clients were the happiest with it, and now she's doing the majority of everyone's graphic design, and we're kind of not so much peeling back on her being an account manager. She's somehow managed to keep all of her clients in the year and a half or something that she's been with us. But definitely not adding to her plate. And she's not the first person that comes to mind when we get a new client. And I don't think we would have known that had she not voiced, hey, I don't love being client facing as much as I love doing graphic design. And I think that just goes for everyone. People are going to work the best in areas that they love. They're going to be the most innovative. They're going to be the happiest. So I think just constantly checking in with people and seeing, what do you want to be doing? Do you want to have experience in the influencer side or the sales side or whatever the case may be? And just putting people where really they belong, because I find more times than not, you hire someone and then you find out about them, what makes them tick, what they like, what they don't like.
Yeah, putting the right people on the right things. I think that, again, when you're a smaller business and you're just a couple people, you kind of have to wear a lot of different hats. But once you kind of reach that next threshold, I think the real ability to be able to scale is, again, putting the right people on the right things and having specializing. That's how you get a level of depth that I think is necessary to be successful in a service-based business. So we've been fortunate enough to hire and hold on to some incredible people that do specific things very well. And I think that that's how you can kind of separate yourself, because I don't care what anybody says. If you've got one person whose sole focus is, say, around paid social, and that's what they do and they live and breathe that, they're going to have a level of depth and sophistication in what they're able to do that's much deeper than somebody that's having to spend time managing organic and paid and influencer and all 5 other things. They're just not getting, as much depth in that one area as others. So I think that that's where I think you start to see some agencies that start to mature, is the ones that are able to kind of separate that out a bit and have folks that can have that depth at those sorts of things, so that you can kind of take on bigger and more sophisticated clients. So
yeah,
definitely an important one.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's enough do's and don'ts. I have a few questions for you.
Do it. Throw it out there.
Rapid fire. They're not really rapid fire. When did you know that Socialistics had a solid culture?
When did I know? Man, that's a good. When did I know? I think for me, it's like I don't know that I'm the best person to answer it, because I'm not. I'm a little bit further removed from the team, but it's a timely question, because I asked a question about that in our last team meeting, and in my monthly one-on-ones with everybody. I'm diving into that because I realize that there's a lot that happens that I don't see. Right. I think for me, though, when I started to feel, I'll give a perfect example. So Ava on our team, who's very young, and I'm not, we have nothing in common whatsoever. So for a while, our conversations were harder, right? I mean, we don't
She's
have
also
a lot
little
of shared
shy,
interests.
I'd say.
Yeah, we don't have shared interests. We're not in the same point in our lives. How does a almost 50-year-old guy relate to somebody that's, that young? I'm not going to say how young she is because it's crazy, but she's amazing. So those initial conversations were like, just very ask a question, get an answer, and it would last like 5-10 minutes, and that was it. But I think it's just time. I think over time, as we had more conversations, we got comfortable with each other, and then those conversations start to feel natural, and you start just shooting the shit, and then you look and, oh wow, we've been talking for 25 minutes, and I didn't even realize it. That's, I think, for me, when I'm when I feel like that with the people on the team, that's when I feel like this is working. Like I think there's a genuine interest with everybody and each other. And it's
not forced.
No, it starts to feel, you start to feel a relationship with this person.
Yeah.
And you can't force that. It just happens over time.
I had a similar answer. I have, like I said, a monthly one-on-one with everyone I manage. And I think I would say every third month, we spend about 25 minutes talking about whatever's happening in our lives and 5 minutes answering the questions. And then maybe the next month is vice versa. But I think that's when I was like, wow, that's nice. Like, that's a huge part of, I think, just team culture and managing people, to be able to really connect with them. So that's been really nice. And then my first thought when I saw this question was, it just developed over time. Just this ability to feel like we know each other. And I think you and Dave are the only people I've ever seen in person. Yeah. So really not having met these people in person, but knowing what their favorite things are, what they like and don't like about their families. And
you bring up a good point, though. And we haven't not done this officially yet, but if you're building a company or an agency that's virtual, you have to figure out a way at least once a year to bring those people together, because
that was my next question.
Oh, was it? Oh, man, I blew it.
Whatever, it's fine. We'll just redo the whole episode.
No, can't do it.
It was what do you want to see our culture? How do you want to see our culture develop in the next 12 months? And I knew you were going to say.
Well, I guess that would have been part of it for sure. But
because I think, Jason and I met actually almost immediately. I was living in Vancouver at the time. He was in Seattle, and he was meeting with a potential client in Vancouver. So it kind of just worked out. We met for lunch or something. You gave me t-shirts. I'll never forget that. I probably still have them.
But that wasn't the meeting that I think solidified our relationship.
No,
when
but
we
it
went
was
to
nice
Vegas for the trade show.
It was nice to meet you, and then it just makes things easier. But then we went to Vegas for a trade show, maybe 4 or 5 months.
Right before the pandemic.
Yep.
It was literally I think a month.
I had the worst experience getting back into Canada. The worst. I've been permanently scarred. Thanks a lot, Canada. You're not even that great anyways. Not great enough to traumatize someone. She had braces too, the customs agent who was berating me. So I was like, she's probably 18. She's going to make me cry. She did make me cry.
I have a horror story about braces. That's when we started. I had them all throughout high school.
Did you?
Real quick funny story. I had braces all throughout high school. I didn't anything to look at anyway, but that killed any confidence I had. I got them taken off halfway during my senior year. I had more success with girls in that 6 months than I did in the entire 3.5 years prior, because my braces were taken off.
No, you were older, more experienced.
I'm telling you, it was the braces. They came off, and then I was like, it's like a butterfly coming out of whatever I was blossoming like a flower.
You know what's crazy? And it used to make me laugh. It kind of feels really unfair now that I think about it. I have good teeth. Just going to say it, throw it out there. I've never had braces. My older brother had braces twice. Can you imagine? They were bad. Yeah.
Well, now it's different. Now you can wear these clear things. Back then, no. I mean, I had a railroad in my mouth. It was metal. A lot of it. I mean, I could catch signals from radio stations. I had rubber bands connecting everything. I mean, I don't even know. It was bad. It was real bad.
Maybe my teeth will fall out first, and my brother won't have to ever get dentures or something.
Take care of your teeth. See. Your teeth are the gateway to health.
Yeah, I just spoke to someone who is a dental hygienist who said flossing. He thinks flossing is more important
It
than
is.
brushing.
100%.
So
100%.
ever since that conversation, I can't go to sleep until I floss.
Well, now I just feel guilty. Like
You
it's a
just
game
feel
for me,
more
'cause then
guilty instead of doing
Well,
it.
I feel guilty. Well, not guilty. I feel like a challenge the next time I go for my cleaning. I want better scores. I want them to be impressed by me.
I just don't want to
Oh,
bleed.
wow, you've been flossing. What?
That's the
That
tell-all,
too.
right? And
Yeah.
he won't listen to me, but my fiance, I think he flosses too hard. He wants to bleed so that when he goes to the dentist, he's like got tough gums. But I'm like, you don't, when I go to the dentist, they don't do it rough. They do it real quick. They just go up the gum and scrape the side. Anyways,
How many listeners do you think we lost
subscribe
ranting about
to
braces
our
and teeth?
dental podcast.
our dental podcast? We have to change the name.
I have to say I'm a little bit upset that we're not drinking right now, but I had a very strong coffee and it has a similar effect on me. I talk more, I talk faster. My brain is
I am down for working in a few beverages for these recordings. It's going to take, I have to drink so many of them for it to have an effect on me. You can probably
here's the
have
thing.
one shot and be
It doesn't make you feel different because it doesn't make you look different. So maybe I could just drink. Maybe that's the joke.
I don't know that I need it, but it'd be interesting to try. But I'd have to have I'd literally have to have at least 4 or 5 shots for it to change my demeanor in any capacity.
One of these
it's
times, next time we get a big client, next time we one up the client we just got, I'll go shot for shot with you and we will record a podcast.
Oh, are you crazy?
And it will be
you'll
unusable.
No, you'll be 911. It won't go well at all.
Yeah, true. Okay.
All right. So that's it, huh? Corvette or not Corvette. What am I talking about? Culture. So that's how you build a culture. So take that with what you will, and you can go build a culture with all of those tips that we've learned.
It takes time, though. It takes time, and a lot of it is trial and error. And I will say, I'm about to toot our horns. That is such a weird saying.
I know
Roll it back. I don't like it. Whatever another phrase that I can say that means the same thing. I'm going to sing our praises. We hire the right people. It starts there.
Yes.
The reason that freedom is the biggest, most important value to you is because that's something that we constantly have to work at, and that's something that you work at personally. But the kindness, generosity is all there from day dot from everyone we hire. We don't tolerate, it's not even a thought for us because we don't even have to think about it, but we don't tolerate nasty people or, bullying or anything like that. It's not even something that we've had to concern ourselves with.
No, hire for the untrainable traits.
Yeah.
Are they a good communicator? They have a good heart? Things that can't be trained or learned. They're things that you inherently are or are not.
Yeah.
So that's its own episode. We could literally talk about hiring.
That is a topic.
Sure there'll be an episode.
That is a topic. But yeah, we hire the right people, and that's where it starts. And I think something that we learned recently with hiring, or at least I learned, is Jason and I are introverted, and our senior social media manager as well. She's also introverted. I think I want to say we have 2 extroverts on the team of 9. They're really carrying a lot of the weight in terms of sparking conversations and things like that. So have a good
Our next hire,
there.
we need another extrovert.
We probably need another extrovert. Not to say that we don't have a fantastic team. And it's hard to tell who's introverted and who's extroverted because we're all such good friends and so connected that it's not like anyone's over in the corner by themselves. It's just, there's 2 people on our team who do a lot of the culture work.
For sure.
Okay, bye.
Awesome. It's weekend time. So thanks for listening. I don't know what day this will be out or what date it's going to be on, so I have no idea what I just said. We're going to have a great weekend. Who knows? This could have been published on a Monday, so apologies that if you're listening to this and you're not going into your weekend, but we are. So thanks for listening to Socialers. Say bye, Joanna. Tell everybody to say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks for listening. Follow us on social media, the website, all that good stuff. And if you're not in our Slack group, you should be. So
You're really
check
missing
that out
out
as well. You are missing out.
I'm all over it.
Awesome. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
Bye.